Hello and welcome to A Review to a Kill, the James Bond retrospective podcast where we rewatch every Bond from Connery to Craig to review and rank each one. I'm your host, Special Agent Sedgwick, and returning for this debrief is an agent that would have just blown up the ATAC at the first chance he got.
Carter, Chris Carter, you're not just whistling Dixie. I mean, I love shit that self-destructs. That's the best shit in the world.
Today we are reviewing Octopussy, the unlucky 13th Bond outing from Eon Productions, the film that went head-to-head against a non-canon Connery Bond. The film premiered at the Odeon Leicester Square in London on the 6th of June, 1983. The premiere was attended by Prince Charles and Princess Diana, and reviews were mostly negative, with them not improving much over time.
I can see why.
Made for $27.5 million, it made $187.5 million in the box office. The film won a Golden Reel Award for sound editing, and Maud Adams was nominated for a Saturn. Awards were light for this one. Produced by Cubby Broccoli, Roger Moore returning. Roger's contract did expire, and there was doubt he'd return. They talked about Timothy Dalton and Triple X's boy toy from The Spy Who Loved Me, Michael Billington, and even shot test footage with Maud Adams and James, I'm Thanos' fucking daddy, Brolin.
That kind of would have been awesome.
Again, we were very close to an American Bond, but the test footage was actually amazing, and he was the closest that I've ever seen to Connery. Alas, with Connery himself returning to battle this film, they thought it safer to get Roger's familiar face on the front line.
Yeah, this movie came out at an odd time. There was a heavy promotion for a similar movie.
In Bond news this month, the GoldenEye remake is out, and it's glitchy.
I didn't download it yet. I was gonna, but then I read some reviews and it's like, well, maybe I'll wait.
The dots roll out, and every single plate is the same. The Bond plate is slightly washed out to remove that 70s brownish yellow. The Bond theme is very mild. It's present, but reserved, moving away from the jazzy, then disco-y bombastic themes of the past, and into something more smooth that we'll see a lot moving forward.
Yeah, I suppose.
The dot reveals a military convoy and expands out for a proper transition this time. We see a small military compound and a plane flying over as Bond pulls up in a 1980 Land Rover Range Rover convertible with giant fucking horse trailer. That fake horse is meant for Andre the Giant.
That horse was so obviously fake.
You ever seen a 20-foot horse before?
Right? But one of the first things I've noticed in this scene is why are Hollywood military uniforms in James Bond movies so tight? They're almost jumpsuits.
Yeah, well, I mean, because they are jumpsuits.
They look ridiculous. Anyway.
There's some horse show going on for Fidel Castro's cousin at insert South American communist state here, and for some reason, it's on the airbase.
Yeah, that was weird too.
Had ideas? There you go, make it happen.
Make it happen.
Bond reverses his clothing into a military disguise. Approached by Bianca, played by Tina Hudson, he complains about security as she gives him a fake ID for a Colonel Toro and a fake mustache. Toro sounds like a load of bull.
It's dumb. Why would she have to conceal a fake mustache on her person? Why wasn't that part of the get-up when he came in? Or, why didn't he have that in some Q gadget?
It could have been in the fucking glove compartment.
Right?
I love how somehow a fake mustache makes the most Anglo bastard ever instantly into a Hispanic man. But seriously, no one is questioning the size of that horse's arse?
That horse is obviously fake. If I saw that in real life, I would go investigate.
It's 20 feet tall! Bond walks up to a Hawker Hunter spy plane in the hangar and knocks out the soldier guarding it. He places some C4 on the plane, but the walls come down. Literally. And Bond is confronted by the real Colonel Toro and soldiers. He's taken away on a 1943 GMC CCKW as Bianca follows in the Rover and giant trailer. Totally not conspicuous at all.
No, I wouldn't have noticed that. Giant brown Land Rover with a giant trailer behind it.
There's two very pale and blue-eyed Hispanic soldiers guarding him. They're also wearing parachutes for some reason. I have no idea why, and when Bianca distracts them with a Lampoon's Vacation bit, Bond pulls their chutes and they fly off the back of the truck.
I have to figure the only reason that this happened is the stuntmen were like, We could put parachutes on our back and just fly off the back of the truck.
I think this happened because Mike Wilson had some ideas and just said, make it happen.
It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Why are you wearing parachutes on a truck?
Why the fuck were they wearing them? Why was there a horse show on the base? How did no one notice Giga Horse? We've had some stupid openings, but this doesn't have anything that isn't stupid going for it.
Not one thing yet.
Bond makes stupid faces at the guards. Listen, I get it. Movies are subjective. Some people like Bond as a comedy. Connery wasn't a comedian. He made clever one-liners that were humorous to cut tension and sound cool. He hated what the franchise turned into, a joke of itself. You can like whatever you want to, but if you do like this shit, you are what's wrong with the world.
Okay, Matthew, okay. Don't hold back. Let me know how you really feel about this movie.
Bond jumps onto the rover and shoots out the tires of the truck. The truck almost runs over some chickens and crashes into a coop. Sirens wail, and we establish more vehicles pursuing Bond, so he kisses Bianca and ditches her to outrun the wanted level while he traverses to the trailer and unhooks it. He drops the gate and raises the arse. The goons are closing in, and Bond pulls out of the trailer in a BD-5J, which was the world's lightest jetcraft at the time.
I wonder if that's because it didn't hold fuel.
He roars at the goons and takes off just over their heads, causing them all to crash dramatically for some reason. Then they get out and shoot at the plane after an establishing shot showing that the thing is gone. So they fire a heat-seeking missile at him. Bond sidewinds, flies under a bridge, goes upside down to lose the missile, but it's still closing. Try spinning. That's a good trick.
Try spinning. You know, by this point in the missile air chase, he is so far away from the base. Ridiculously far away from the base.
No, he's just flying over it, like going higher and doing circles.
Through a ravine under a bridge.
Yeah, he just went around it and came back.
That was a big circle.
It's a big holding pattern.
You're right.
He jukes the missile with inches to spare and dives into the hangar with the Hawker spy plane he failed to blow up. Real barnstormer shit. Colonel Toro has men go to close the doors, but Bond makes it in, through, and out before they get the door closed, which they finally do, just in time to trap the missile and blow up the hangar.
I have to assume from that explosion that hangar was full of jet fuel.
Munitions.
That was ridiculously large, flammable explosion.
Corky Fornoff piloted the BD jet for this sequence that was originally meant for Moonraker. To get the hangar scene, they used models and perspective trickery. The door and the wall of the hangar nearest to the camera was a 1/3 miniature that was 60 yards closer to the camera than the actual building. Then they used the same trick for the exit shot. Inside the hangar was a whole different story. The BD jet was stuck on a pole, on a Jaguar, with no top that John Richardson drove at 70 miles an hour through the set with Roger strapped in there for real. They almost crashed into a plane offset when the gas pedal got stuck. They used extras and the wing to hide the pole, but there is one insert where it's quite visible.
Quite.
The hangar explodes spectacularly, because it was a model. And then Bond does some more aerial stunt work for the horse crowd. But what's this? He's out of fuel? That's a pathetically useless tank. You went up there for 2 minutes. That's not practical.
Why wasn't there fuel in the jet, perhaps? Maybe he just dropped it empty? I don't understand. There's not enough fuel in that fucking thing to do anything.
But it's cool, because he lands and rolls up to a petrol station saying, "Fill her up, please."
Yeah.
Cool, yeah. I hope there's a station every 10 miles home to England from El Wherevero.
Well, I hope every station you stop at happens to carry JP9, because regular gas ain't gonna do it, homie.
Well, I mean, maybe it'll be fine, as this was actually shot mostly in West London, though the flying shots were done in Utah. Closing hands and a sexy saxophone takes us into the titles. Would it surprise you if they were blue, smoky, slow silhouettes dancing and jumping on a trampoline, and naked women with lighting effects over them? This time, though, they got a laser show projector.
I wrote, oh boy, lasers and smoke. These movies got progressively worse. Movie by movie by movie by movie. His first movie, I loved it.
It's great.
Live and Let Die, fantastic. This movie,
Absolute trash. Probably the worst canon Bond film I've ever seen.
Quite possibly. It ranks pretty low on a lot of scales.
Second unit director, Arthur the Wooster. Special effects supervisor, John Richardson. Production supervisor, Hugh Harlow. Assistant director, Anthony Way. Back on continuity, Elaine Shriek. Bob Simmons on action sequences. Art director, John Finner. Set decor, Jack Stevens. Production controller, Reginald A. Berkshire. Supervising editor, John Grover. Editors, Peter Davies and Henry Richardson. Director of photography, Alan Hume. Hope he does better this time. That's all I'm going to say. Spoiler alert, he doesn't. Main titles by the autopilot himself, Maurice Binder.
He was so lazy.
Production designer, Peter Lamont. Music by John Barry. The song All Time High performed by Rita Coolidge. It's serviceable. It's not horrendous or hard to get through. It's okay.
There's nothing about this title sequence that excites me.
The song's okay.
Eh.
It's okay.
It's okay.
I didn't say it's good. I didn't say it's bad.
Eh.
But these titles do suck, because Maurice was lazy. You're not wrong. He was lazy about compositing silhouettes, so he went back to the old days when he just low-lit everyone and you can totally see everything.
Yeah, you can totally see everything.
Associate producer, Tom Pevsner. Executive producer, Mike G. Wilson. Story by George MacDonald, but screenplay by senile Dick Maybaum and producer's pet Mike Wilson again, because it worked so well last time.
Yeah, it didn't.
Produced by Cubby Broccoli, everyone got the treatment.
Except John Glenn.
Directed by John Glenn. Fade into East Berlin, and we see a clown hopping a fence and running for his life from the circus. This is actually 009, played by Andy Bradford. Why is he a clown? I don't know. Secret world-saving stuff. Very hush-hush.
Very hush-hush. As a 00, you'd think he'd pick a better disguise. I'm just saying.
He had to blend into a circus. As 009 runs away, he's chased by a vested fellow with a knife. But suddenly, the vested fellow teleports in front of 009 and slices his arm. 009 kicks him away and runs again. It's revealed here that the vested goon cannot teleport. There's two of them, twins, named Mishka and Grishka, played by David and Tony Meyer, respectively.
Knife throwers, circus performers, they creep me out.
They chase him down as he makes for the Cold War border and throws a knife into his spine, sending 009 into the Neen. A little downriver, he stumbles onto the bank and up to the residence of the British ambassador. With his final effort, collapses through the back window and drops a Fabergé egg at the feet of the ambassador and his terrified wife.
This terrified concubine. That's funny.
Cut to Whitehall, and then inside to the MI6 offices, which, I always thought they were two different places, but okay.
Yeah, I always did too, but yeah, okay.
They established it as such before, but in this movie, they're the same place. Bond tells Moneypenny that she is more beautiful every day, as Moneypenny stands up on the side, revealing that he is talking to a young woman, and not her. Moneypenny has her own secretary in this movie, a secretary named Penelope Smallbone, played by Michaela Clavel.
Miss Smallbone. What with the names?
Very flumming.
It's ridiculous.
She was initially intended to be recurring and replace Lois Maxwell, but that obviously didn't pan out, mostly because of Maxwell's hostility to feeling replaced.
Well, you can tell in this scene, Moneypenny was quite catty.
It was very real.
Yeah, I could tell.
Self-admitted by Maxwell in interviews.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Moneypenny, she's as attractive and charming as I used to be. No, I didn't say that. So flattering, James. Bond gives a rose to Moneypenny and the rest of the bouquet to Penelope. Inside M's office, we have a new M this time, played by Robert Brown, who'd played different characters in the series in the past. The Minister is there as well, of course, but this time, the Minister is happy to see Bond. It's as if he earned respect for him after seeing what it was like dealing with him firsthand after the last mission, which actually makes sense.
I suppose.
They introduced Bond to their art expert, Jim Fanning, played by Douglas Vilmer. Then, They introduce the Fabergé egg they found on 009. Bond info brags on Carl Fabergé and his eggs. M points out that it's a fake and says the real one is being auctioned at Sotheby's. So Bond is to replace 009 on Operation Trove with nothing to go on but 009 dying in East Germany with this egg. Speaking of eggs, they zoom in on and Bond reads out from the Sotheby's catalog the words, "Property of a Lady," another Fleming title never used for a film like Risiko.
There you go.
Cutting to a meeting room in the Kremlin, and Gogol is there with Russian officials. Paul Hardwick plays the Soviet chairman reading the minutes on mutual disarmament with NATO. Gogol reiterates that this does not compromise their defensive abilities, and Lieutenant General Orlov, portrayed by Steven Berkoff, speaks up. This set is spacious. It's beautiful, with the marble feel and gold trim rounded desk. It's cavernous and very Adamian. Mike Wilson's cameo is in this scene, by the way.
Oh, who's he play?
Some random dude in that table of diplomats.
First thing I thought when I saw this room was, how come they're not facing each other? The set had a very futuristic vibe to it.
I like this set. This is like the only set this guy's done so far that I'm like, yeah, I love it.
But yeah, it wasn't bad.
General Orlov complains about Gogol's timid policies. He over-trills R's and randomly shouts to emphasize single words, or just shouts. He is the definition of cartoonish. Over the top, ham-fisted acting.
Who's this Dr. Strangelove villain?
Yeah, but without self-aware irony. The irony is real.
The irony is real.
He opens a side telescreen, and the floor rotates the desk committee. Again, very Adamian. Orlov shows his military buildup and his plan to invade the rest of Germany. Gogol says this will lead to nuclear war, and Orlov screams that the West is decadent and weak. Gogol says, fuck off, we aren't burning the world for your glory, and the guy just keeps being insubordinate over and over to these superior people. And eventually, the chairman tells Orlov off, and Orlov collapses into his chair, like a butthurt kid pouting.
I was wondering while I was watching this scene, is General Orlov inspiration for Vladimir Putin? They seem very alike.
Did you see Orlov shirtless riding a bear?
I could totally see Orlov shirtless riding a bear. You could. Oh, yes.
I can see it right now. I'm seeing it in my head.
Right?
And I wish I wasn't, but it's not going away now. Meanwhile, Rubovich gets a call and takes a note to Orlov, who says, tell him I'll be there ASAP. Cutting to the Kremlin art repository, we see a man named Lincoln, played by Peter Porteous, freaking out about the lost fake egg to Orlov with one of the twins in the background. There's to be an inventory in 2 days, and they lost the fake egg, so Orlov says he'll call London and get the real one back.
What is Orlov's scheme with these eggs and fakes? Money? He needs some money.
Cutting to the auction house at Sotheby's, they're showing off the egg before the show, and Fanning says it shouldn't fetch more than $250, $300,000. Anything more would be crazy. Philip Voss's auctioneer starts the bid on the egg that was the property of a lady. A woman named Magda, played by Christina Wayborn, walks in, all business, and Bond says, there's a lady.
I like how Fanning knows Bond's reputation well enough to tell him to shut up and pay attention.
Well, he doesn't get it. They went there specifically to see if the buyer shows up. That's what Bond's saying. He's not like, oh, I want to fuck her. He's like, hey, that's probably it. And like, for me, I thought that was stupid. I thought the opposite right there. That took me out. I was like, why would he blow him off? Like, really, he should be like, oh, maybe that's her.
Maybe.
Magda sits next to Kamal Khan, played by Louis Jourdan, our baddie for the film. The bid gets up to $300,000 and people murmur. The bids get up to $400,000 and that seems to be it. No one would want to pay that price, so Kamal wants it bad, maybe on orders to get it back. So, just when it's about to be sold, Bond raises a finger and the price to $425,000. Let's see how badly he wants it. Kamal bids $450. Bond requests to see the egg, and as he does, he switches it with the fake, and then bids $475. Kamal drops $500,000 bid, which Bond happily lets him pay. Now knowing that Kamal had to buy it no matter what, Bond intends to find out why.
$200,000 over price. That's a reasonable target.
You notice is like, this movie starts, they're like, yeah, our agent's dead, and we want to know why, and all we have to go on is this egg. But, like, think of it like Bond. You come in and they're like, all right, I don't know what's going on. Figure it out. Dead Agent Egg. It's like, but what's
Yeah,
the plot? What's the mission?
right.
You know what I mean?
Right? What
That's
are
the
the
least we've
stakes?
ever had to go on. And it's not like you have to reveal everything in the beginning. Definitely not. But it's like maybe a little bit more than that. I would be so even if just as an agent, I would be like, wait, what? Like,
What's going on?
do what? Where? Huh?
Where am I supposed to
Egg?
start?
I guess I'll go to that circus first. No, we want you to go to this auction. Okay, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
So Orlov is stealing artifacts and selling them to fund his private buildup to World War III, which is about to get caught, so they're scrambling to clean up the breadcrumbs. Outside, Bond watches Magda and Kamal get into a 1968 Mercedes-Benz 600, being chauffeured by Gobinda, played by Indian heartthrob Kabir Bedi, are heavy for the film. He's described his character as the Indian Jaws, all brawn, no brains.
Right.
We see a taxi follow the Benz, and we cut to M dressing Bond down for bidding on the egg. Bond reveals that he switched the eggs, and M is happily surprised. Bond says their tale caught Kamal getting on a plane to Delhi, and that the fake will obviously smoke Kamal out. But how do you know that, James?
Right? It's no guarantee.
Did you read the script?
It might drive them all into hiding.
M orders Bond to Delhi, so cut to Delhi. And put Delhi in quotes because Bond's copter flies past the Taj Mahal in Agra before touching down several hundred miles away on the northern tip of Lake Picola in Udaipur.
Oh, I see. They meant the English version of Delhi, which is basically all of India.
All of India, yeah.
At least they got some usage out of the helicopter.
They didn't even kill anybody with it this time.
Right.
Now in Delhi, Bond walks past a snake charmer who starts playing the Bond theme on his flute in universe. This is that double-taking pigeon or that slide whistle moment. It's universe breaking. These movies are parodies of Connery's films.
Yeah, like, how does James Bond know his theme song? Does he hear it all the time? Is it always playing when it's playing?
Not only does the Bond theme finally calm an Honorary Cobra, but it also immediately gets Bond's attention. So the Bond theme exists in universe, and Bond knows it.
Yeah, and it's a code song.
Or, yeah, exactly, maybe not, as Bond sees it as a signal for a code exchange with the man named Vijay, played by Vijay Armitage, real-life tennis star. 10-1 odds he shows up with a racket in this film.
He's going to have a racket at some point.
Vijay even says he's from Universal Exports. And at the taxi, they meet Sabruddin, who's head of section, played by Albert Moses, and they all ride off in a tuk-tuk. Vijay was terrified of the Cobras in real life, and the outtakes of him with the basket are hilarious and slightly cynical, as Roger was being a bully and kept hitting the basket from underneath while Vijay was holding it.
Oh, that's an ass of a move.
On the back of the smoky ride, Bond asks Vijay about Kamal Khan. Vijay says that he's an exiled Afghan prince, a sportsman. Polo, cricket, tennis. Vijay then says he plays himself as a pro at the man's club. Because, you know,
He's
of course
a
he
tennis
does.
pro. Let's be realistic.
We got less than 60 seconds before a tennis reference from this guy. That's like if Dave Bautista came out in Spectre and just Bautista bombed the Spectre dude instead of gouging out his eyes.
Yep, that would be about the same thing.
They show James a palace on the hill called the Monsoon Palace because it's the only place that isn't flooded during monsoon season.
Well, that makes sense. It's on the top of a hill.
They say it's Kamal Khan's place. They plan to meet up later and find Kamal playing backgammon at the hotel. So James hands Vijay his flute, saying you may need this to play with your asp.
The one-liners start in this movie pretty quickly, and none of them really work.
Well, they're juvenile at best.
At best.
Cutting to the Hotel Shiv Niwas Palace, where Bond is staying, and the crew stayed at in real life. This is one of the Maharaja's palaces that he turned into a hotel. Peter Lamont was the first Western tourist to stay there after opening while doing prelim work for the film. Now, on his way back from said work, his plane was hijacked on the runway for 12 hours.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Hijacked on a plane. Man, these Bond producers have some exciting lives.
Bond checks into his room, and on his balcony spots Magda coming off a giant rowboat with an octopus on the flag. It's Spectre, I knew it. We can't say that. Can't say Spectre because of Kevin that Chode McGlory. Sorry, we got to
right.
Don't sue us, Kevin. Yeah.
Meh.
Anyway, cut transition to later in a shitty set, hotel. Stuart Sanders, no relation to the Colonel, though he is wearing his clothes, plays Major Clive. Major Clive is getting taken at Backgammon by Kamal Khan.
Wow. Another gambling scene where somebody is losing to a gambler.
Well, Kamal switches the dice and uses a loaded pair for a double six when he needs it to win.
Of course the villain is cheating.
And Bond sees this, so Kamal presses Clive for another round, to which Clive agrees, saying his luck has to run out sometime. And doesn't this feel exactly like Goldfinger down to the line?
Almost verbatim.
Magda goes to the bar and Bond joins her, but she immediately just blows him off. Clive retreats from the game as the stakes are raised too high and Bond takes his place. Bond raises the stakes again to 200,000 rupees, and Kamal asks if he has the cash. Bond places the egg on the table and everyone gasps.
Who carries around a fucking Fabergé egg?
Up his ass, next to the gadgets.
Somewhere.
Kamal says, "Play, Mr. Bond. You need a great deal of luck to get out of this." To which Bond replies, "Oh, luck? Well, then I shall use player's privilege and use your lucky dice." Bond shakes the dice, grinning, saying, "It's all in the wrist," to mock Kamal, as it's what Kamal had been saying when using the loaded dice on Clive, as Bond is now using on him. He tosses the roll and says double sixes without ever breaking eye contact with Kamal.
And nobody else noticed that.
It's so gangster.
That's pretty gangster. But if I were at the table and I noticed that, I'd have been like, how did you know? You didn't even look at the dice.
He read the script. Bond demands payment, and the check is cut. All credit due, Kamal didn't flinch. But that only goes as far to say he's smart enough to know sometimes when you're getting ass fucked, it's more painful to futilely fight back when you can just shank him for it later in the shower. Kamal tells Bond to spend the money quickly. Bond takes his egg and hands over the dice, but Govinda takes the dice and crushes them into dust in his palm, which is, really cool, yeah, but how?
You're right. Nigh impossible?
I don't care how strong you are, your grip isn't strong enough to close tight enough anywhere to powderize something as hard as a soft stone.
That just confirms that those dice were fake. Just because what the fuck are they made out of? How'd you do that?
Is that made out of dinner mint?
Right.
Bond takes the money and splits it with Vijay and Sedgwick. Bond also gives the egg to Vijay. Cutting outside, we see Govinda in a tuk-tuk, loading a double-barrel shotgun. Bond comes out and carts off on the back of a tuk, while Govinda's tuk follows. Making their way through the streets of Delhi?
Maybe Delhi?
Bond notices they're being followed and warns Vijay, who lays down the hammer and pops a sweet wheelie.
Well, it's a company car, he says. So, of course, it's got a modification of some sort.
And also, he doesn't care if it gets fucked up, because it ain't his.
Right?
Vijay tears downstairs, hard turn into traffic. He lives his life 1/4 mile at a time. Wait, no, that's the old one, sorry. Family. A 1942 Willys Jeep, legendary vehicle, rides alongside Bond's tuk, and Indian ninjas board, attacking Bond with insane bladed weapons and a mace. Vijay fights off the other driver with a tennis racket. Boom, 35 minutes in, could not hold that load.
Tennis racket. Boom. And I prefer to call these assassins instead of Indian ninjas. They're thuggies.
You're just making me think of Temple of Doom now. They even do a bit where Vijay and the goon trade swings with an almost tennis smacking sound every time, and each time it would cut to a crowd looking back and then forth like it was fucking Wimbledon.
Again, with the universe-breaking comedy, I think the writers really were trying to make a comedic movie.
They were at this point. It's so stupid, though. It's just a parody of what Bond was with Connery.
Yeah.
It's just a parody of it. This is Austin Powers' level of stupid.
It is bad.
I don't even know why they thought we should parody Bond movies when Bond parodied himself for a long time.
For at least 3 movies so far.
Suddenly, Michael Jackson's older brother stabs Bond in the chest. Dun dun dun.
Michael Jackson's older brother. That was not Randy.
It was Tito. But the Bond theme blares and he punches Tito off the tuck and reveals the wad that he had won saved him. Always keep your stacks close to your heart.
Is that what that's for?
Yeah.
Blocking knives?
Yeah, that's why you keep your stacks close to your heart, bro.
Okay.
You block some knives, man.
Okay.
You live life like a G. You know, the streets save you sometimes.
Sometimes.
VJ rackets his goon and the Jeep wrecks. Game, set, and match, he quips, because of course he did.
We established that. All his lines are going to be about tennis.
This would be like if mid-2000s Hollywood had The Rock come out in movies saying his catchphrases and rock bottom. Oh, wait. Never mind.
Mm-hmm.
VJ jumps a ramp, even though he could have, gone around. And we see Gobinda catching up. And also that his gun is actually a blunderbuss.
Yes.
Which he fires at the tuck, with Bond barely getting out of the way and VJ being saved only by some magic bullet theory bullshit.
At that range, blunderbusses should have hit everybody in front of him.
VJ should have had a hole in him.
It's a freaking blunderbuss.
Bond tries to escape through a festival, like always. And I love how in this peaceful celebration, no one is batting an eye at the blunderbuss and brandished knives. Big ones. Held at eye height. What the fuck?
One is a sword.
It's that kind of party.
Right, nobody cares.
Bond walks over hot coals and says, ooh, oh, but he's wearing shoes. And it was like 3 steps. Meanwhile, Ishak Books plays a man named Fakir, who's laying on a bed of nails. Bond is attacked by a goon nearby, so Fakir gets the fuck out of the way. And just in time, too, as Bond judo tosses the dude onto the bed of nails. This upsets Fakir.
They could have filmed this scene a whole lot better. Maybe, cut away before he hit the fake bed of nails. Everything was so fake in this movie.
Bond attacks a knife goon with a flaming torch and tosses his torch at the goon, saying, "Here, catch." For some reason, the goon not only does this, but he does it with his free hand. And since Bond's superpower is luck, he drops his blade, so Bond punches him out.
Yeah, why does he drop his sword?
Convenience. Bond's superpower is luck. I would have just watched it fly past me like, okay, buddy, and then slashed him.
All right.
Then another insane bladed weapon goon comes out, and Bond pulls a sword from the throat of a sword swallower, which had to be the scariest stunt in the movie.
If I were the sword swallower.
You're going to let Roger Moore pull that out of my throat? How fast? Fuck off.
Fuck off.
Bond then knocks the goon onto the coals and makes him run away, grabbing his buns. Gobinda runs up all blussin', but Bond kicks oil onto the coals, causing the gas valves to open up and the pyro team to create a wall of flame between them, which Gobinda could not shoot through, even with the mighty blunderbuss.
Yeah, because, bullets don't go through fire.
India had so many people, and so many people with nothing better to do than see a film being shot, so they'd always have so many crowds that sometimes they just couldn't even shoot, and often would get double the amount of extras requested, at one point requesting 5,000 extras and 10,000 people showing up.
Holy shit. How do you manage that?
They couldn't. Also, Roger never sweats. You ever notice that?
I did kind of notice that. Everybody around him was pretty sweaty, but not him.
He's wearing thick suits in some of these movies.
Right.
So Roger constantly changed his suits because he thought that Bond should never sweat or fart or be human. Unrealistic fictional god.
Yeah.
You know what's really uncompelling?
What's that? This movie?
A character without humanity, vulnerability.
Yes.
If you like this James Bond, then you have to admit you like Ray Skywalker. VJ picks Bond up again, but Gobinda commandeers another tuck himself. So Bond takes his winnings and the winnings he gave to VJ and tosses them into the air over the street shouting, "Rupees!" And VJ drives away through a poster at the end of the street and a duplicate drops in its place, allowing them to give the goons the slip.
If I were VJ, I'd be kind of pissed off. Like, you gave me those rupees.
I don't want to use the term Indian giving.
You're right. I don't, but...
They're in India.
Yeah.
And he gave him money and then took it
Took
back.
it
And
back.
VJ just smiled about it. He laughed about it. He was like, oh, this is great.
Easy come, easy go, I guess. No bad karma for you.
I didn't want those rupees anyways, you asshole. I have a job that makes me handle cobras.
Right.
Give me some money. So this was a cool bit and all, but they busted through that wall at speed. And pretending it's not a solid wall through and through, like when they're peering through it afterwards, where's the tuck and how'd they not crash into the other wall right in front of them? This is a hella small courtyard area leading to a Q lab.
I assumed it was a Q-lab, so, you know, those things that aircraft carriers had, you know, the guide wire. I assumed that they had something like that to stop. Otherwise, they would have been driving right through that Q-lab because they were not just at speed, but speeding.
Inside the lab, Q is angry to be sent out there at a moment's notice with no proper facilities, even though it looks like any random lab ever. Lots of culturally themed gadgets and gimmicks, tons of people around doing shit. What about this guy on the self-rising rope that falls over a limb? Trouble keeping it up, Q? Bond quips.
It looks like every Q-lab ever, except it's in India.
Then they run into Smithers. Remember him?
Was he the guy with the arm?
Yep.
Yep.
Smithers smashes a dummy into smithereens again, but this time he uses a whole door. Smashing, Q.
Smithers.
Q puts a Homer and a microphone the size of a grain of rice into the egg, and I'm calling bullshit. What the fuck kind of condenser is in the microphone the size of a grain of fucking rice?
Yeah, I mean, this was the 80s.
Get out.
It's not even now. And how much money did Seiko pay to be all over this movie?
They've been since Man with a Golden Gun.
Oh, you're right. There's been a Seiko ad or a billboard or something.
Q also gives Bond a pen with a mix of nitrogen and hydrochloric acid that can dissolve any metal. Now, I think the writers meant nitric acid and hydrochloric acid because that mix will actually dissolve all metals. It's actually called agua regia for its ability to dissolve noble metals. Now, nitrogen and hydrochloric acid will not dissolve harder metals, so sorry for the chemistry check. The back of the pen has an earpiece for the egg mic, and Bond's watch is hooked to the Homer. Bond then turns 12 and zooms a camera on a woman's cleavage over and over. Even Q calls him adolescent.
This horribly juvenile scene. I don't like it that it's in there, but I do like the fact that Q called it out.
Back at the hotel, Bond is led to a table where Magda waits to talk to him. He sits, and she offers a trade of the egg for his life. He quips about the price of eggs these days, and bro, tell me about it. How topical, James.
Oh, okay, the price of eggs.
The joke only works because the world fell apart.
Right, it only works because the world fell apart.
A woman we'll see again later, played by Tina Robinson, snaps a photo of the two. Magda claims to collect memories, so he suggests they cut to making a few. So we do. They're banging and drinking in bed. Super pros.
Super pros.
She leans over for more bubbly, and Bond notices a temporary tattoo on her back of an octopus. He asks about it, and she says it's her little octopussy. Then she gobbles his face.
I like his face when she said it. I mean, for once, Bond was speechless. He didn't have a quip or a one-liner or anything. He was just like,
Okay.
That's too easy.
Cutting outside, we see Kamal and squad pulling up in a 1934 Rolls-Royce Phantom II. Gobinda gets out and Kamal drives off. Back upstairs, Magda is getting dressed and wrapped in her sari. She takes the egg out of Bond's jacket pocket and Bond walks up behind her. She tries to hold the egg behind her back while standing in front of a mirror. So fucking brilliant, chick.
Oh, man. It's like, is this where the stereotype comes from of dumb blondes? Because that was the dumbest shit I ever saw before.
Bond lets her stash it in her tits and activates the Homer on the egg with his watch. She goes to the balcony and ties the end of her sari to the ledge before falling backwards off the edge and gently sliding down as the wrap unwinds around her. Wayborn was athletic and did this stunt on her own.
Really?
Very true.
I was just going to remark about how long that sari was. I mean, she must have been wrapping herself for a good 15 minutes.
By the way, that's not what those outfits are. They're not bikinis with sheets wrapped around them like really long togas.
No, they're not.
There's some bad ADR in this scene. But we'll just move on.
There's some bad ADR, period.
Listen, when I wrote that, I had no idea it was never going to stop.
Never stops.
When Magda touches down, Kamal's phantom is there to pick her up. Bond goes back inside his room, where Gobinda knocks him out from behind with a judo chop and a mean stare.
Check your corners, bro.
Jeez.
Like, you just witnessed this chick who told you that the offer they made was to kill you or you give up the egg. And then you watch her get away and hop in a car.
He was in his room. He walked out on the balcony for 2 seconds, walks back in. I can understand.
I don't know.
Maybe if people tried to kill me as many times as him, I would be way more paranoid about it. But
I
get it.
Just a little bit. That's all I'm saying.
Cutting to the next day, we see that giant rowboat with octopus banner. Kamal is standing in the aisle as a ton of girls row, and Gwendolyn, played by Suzanne Jerome, cracks the whip, so to speak. They pull up to their master's palatial estate, the in-real-life Taj Lake Palace, another palace turned hotel. In universe, though, it's home to pro-film smuggler Octopussy, twin sister of Scaramanga's dead hoe.
Twin. She's a twin. And this palace was very reminiscent of Khan's palace in Enter the Dragon.
Kamal is escorted to Octopussy, where he tells her the egg has been recovered. Octopussy wants to see the man who stole it from them, and Kamal says they got him and plan to kill him. She says no, bring him here.
Why not kill him?
To be fair, we actually get an answer to this for once, but, it still just seems stupid.
It's always stupid.
Oh yeah, she feeds an octopus the whole time. I guess that means something.
I wonder, when I saw this, I was like, how many octopus did this movie kill? All the people who watched this movie and went out and bought an octopus and fed it fish food till it died.
Cutting to the Monsoon Palace, Bond wakes up in time to see Kamal return. Gobinda brings Bond a tux and takes him to dinner. Who needs sets when they let you shoot in palaces?
Probably for free.
At dinner, Bond is threatened with torture and then presented with the real torture. Dinner. Stuffed sheep's head. Gross. This is that Temple of Doom moment, but the irony is unintentional here.
Well, yeah. I like how he lets him take 2 bites of the souffle before he has it taken away. Oh, we must absolutely eat the souffle. Bite, bite. Okay, on to the main course.
Then we get an odd and very random flash zoom on Gobinda. Later, as they're going back to their rooms, Magda says goodnight, and Bond offers himself to come in for a nightcap. But Gobinda literally cockblocks him and takes him back to his room, where Bond offers Gobinda a nightcap, and that was legit funny to me. Inside his room, Bond is using his acid pen to escape the barred window, but when the base of the bars dissolve, he moves the prop bars and they bend just from him trying to move them. He could have easily just crunched them to the sides and squeezed through.
Easily. That's what I was thinking. Is like, why waste the acid? Those bars look like they're hollow.
Plus, it's like acid. Don't touch that on your way out.
Right?
On the ledge outside, Bond is doing 80s old man parkour when John Glenn's signature pigeon flies out screeching like a bat.
I wrote bird.
Along Bond's traverse, he comes along Magda's window as she's changing, and Bond pervs out for a moment, peeping Tom style, before moving on.
As usual, Captain Creepo.
I know that Connery was rapey and bad and problematic, but damn, he was charming compared to this shit.
Right?
Then, all the lights come on, and a helicopter comes in to land. Magda looks out a window and almost sees Bond. Bond climbs onto her balcony and sees Orlov arrive. Bond walks through her room and out her door past a snoozing guard. He follows Kamal and Orlov, and as he does, we see Magda watching him, smiling.
Yeah, what's up with this Magda chick?
She's a very shittily, poor written character that never really understand the motivations or actions of past the present scene.
Right.
And they will often conflict with past ones, just whatever makes her work at that time. Because, they wanted their twists in this. The bad guy's actually a woman. Oh, but surprise, it's not. She's actually just another fucking hole for James Bond. Mike G. Wilson wrote this, man, so.
So it sucks.
Like, it's not well written at all. It's one of the worst written things that's ever been produced into a movie. I'm sorry. It's just the truth.
You're not wrong.
Down in the cellar, Bond puts his pin earpiece in and listens to the convo from the mic in the egg. He hears how Kamal makes forgeries exactly to Lincoln's specs, and Orlov switches them for the real deal for Kamal to sell. Orlov says something about Karl Marx Stadt and smashes the egg, thinking it to be the fake. Kamal cringes, but then sees the bug. Bond books it and hides in a meat freezer with dead men hanging on hooks. What the fuck?
Dead men hanging on hooks.
He's killed some people and they're establishing it, but it was also just kind of like random dead men.
Well, yeah, why are they all in here hanging on hooks for them to just throw them away later?
And they just throw them right outside the house.
They're like, how many men do they kill in a day?
Oh, that's a lot. They have to feed the tigers.
Yeah, I suppose.
After some time hidden in the freezer, some men wrap the bodies and begin to take them out one by one. We then cut outside to the next morning, and everyone rushes out of the palace, an army of men trying to track Bond. Gobinda and Kamal come out, looking ready for safari. We then see the body loading goons throw a body onto a cart just to hear it go, oof. They look at each other, but say, nah, wait till he says he's not dead yet.
Right?
The hunting party load up onto their elephants, and the body disposal team goes to throw Bond down a hill. Then the bag shoots up and goes, and it's so fucking weird.
It is kind of weird. That's the best you could do? Not a rah or...
It's not even Roger's voice. What the fuck? The men run away scared, and Bond rips out of the bag, taking off down the hill. Kamal has the horns blare, and the hunt is on. Now, something else the Maharaja let them use to film in was this old, overgrown garden, and that's where this Deadliest Game style hunt was filmed.
Well, it was done tiger style, because that's how they literally hunt tigers.
The men all chase Bond, and we cut to B-roll of a tiger, then to Bond running. Bond runs into a giant fake spiderweb with giant fake spiders. Now, speaking of fake, the Maharaja had a stuffed tiger in one of his palaces that they asked to use, and here it is being thrust at Roger from off camera. Rawr, it's stuffed.
So obviously fake. I was like, why did they launch that tiger out of a cannon?
Clever editing has Bond with the live tiger who's roaring at him, and Bond says, sit to the cat, and the cat's like, oh, my bad, and does. Bond then runs away with his back to the tiger, but the hunters are catching him, so he dives under some brush, and they all meet up like, where is he? And dude, y'all suck at tracking.
Right? You suck at hunting.
What the fuck? I thought you said you were good at this.
Yes, you have surrounded a guy and you don't know where he is.
As Bond lays there praying not to be noticed Assassin's Creed style, a snake slithers over him, and he audibly says, piss off, to the snake. Dude, shut the fuck up. Bond, what is wrong with you?
I like how they crammed every conceivable bad jungle animal into this scene.
Bond surreptitiously unlatches Gobinda's elephant saddle, causing him to fall over, and Bond cheeses it. The chase is on again.
The whole sequence, it was bad. You guys have rifles, you're horrible shots. You have elephants. You can't seem to catch a man on foot.
I don't understand how Gobinda missed him.
Several times.
In an open field.
With a rifle.
When Bond is running straight on, and Gobinda has a rifle.
Yeah.
Then it happens. A moment so bad, it's worse than the slide whistle, and up there with the triple taking pigeon. Bond swings by on a vine, doing the classic Tarzan yell, and it's the second stupidest thing in a Bond movie ever.
Really? Because I know what you're going to say is the first stupidest thing, because we've talked about it before. So I got to be honest with you. It might be the first.
No, I'm sorry, the triple taking pigeon was worse.
Oh, really? This was fucking bad.
He wades through a swampy area, a leech, and a croc. On the other side, Bond sees a tourist boat in a lake. He wades out and gets picked up by some tourists, including another Mike Wilson cameo.
Really?
Yes.
He had to cameo twice?
Blue shirt and a camera.
Did he have a line?
No.
Okay.
Cutting back to the section base / Q lab, and Bond debriefs the boys, and they inform him on Octopussy. Cutting to later that night, Bond sneaks up to her floating palace in a fake crocodile. He sneaks around her palace grounds and spies on her and all her ladies. He follows her to her room, and goes in gun drawn. Bond asks her about her smuggling and 009's death, and she says, I don't know shit, bro, but I'll tell you something. You were sent after a traitor once. You gave him a chance to get his affairs in order before bringing him in, and he killed himself instead of facing a court-martial. That was her father. So she saved him earlier because she thinks he gave her father a chance at an honorable death over a traitor's death.
Hey, is that why she saved him?
Yep.
Even knowing that, they didn't make that really clear.
I mean, she just did she said it.
Yeah, she said it. But like Bond, I was like, oh, so this is for revenge then. Even Bond didn't get it.
Yeah, that's true. At first. And then the violins came.
And she told us the good part of the story, whatever. It's just bad writing.
It was supposed to be a rope-a-dope, like you thought was going to happen, and you did this to my father, you went after my father, and then she reveals.
Right.
But you can't rope-a-dope people if you only throw one left before you're right.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing there.
Gwendolyn enters, saying Kamal is here, and Kamal enters, saying Bond has escaped. Bond is literally right behind him in this moment, and Octopussy says, how careless of you, Kamal. Oh, by the way, he's right behind you. And then Bond quips about being a friend of the family. So Kamal remarks on Bond's nasty habit of survival. And Roger fucking Moore's Bond says, well, you know what they say about the fittest. Yeah, bro. Sure.
Oh, Lord.
You are literally in the shape of my elderly grandpa.
I'm pretty sure he's wearing a girdle.
Get you a walker. You're going to save the world? Where's your hover round? Do you need your medicine?
You better go get that chair Blofeld had.
Did you escape from the home? I gotta save the world. There's a bomb. Okay, Grandpa.
Calm down, Grandpa. Come back in the house.
Octopussy says she'll take care of Bond and dismisses Kamal, who tells them to enjoy themselves as he leaves. They then try to explain the movie and her name by saying her father loved cephalopods and his pet name for her was Octopussy. So,
what?
Creepy.
Yeah, right? It's like, that is the weirdest fucking pet name I've ever heard in my life. Why not just call her Octopus?
I feel like this brought up more questions than it ever answered.
Like, what kind of relationship did she have with her father?
Yeah, what the fuck is wrong with you guys, man? Octopussy offers Bond to stay a few days and has Gwendolyn take him to his room. She then orders Midge, played by Cherry Gillespie, to make Bond comfortable but double his guard.
Make him comfortable but put more women on his room.
Yeah, that'll make him more comfortable. It's a double whammy.
That'll make him more comfortable because Bond underestimates women at every turn.
He just knows he has a magic dick.
Yes.
Cutting to some Mos Eisley level shithole saloon, we see Kamal hire some goons to sneak onto the floating palace and kill Bond. They also introduce William Derrick's thug with a yo-yo, except this yo-yo plays for keeps. It's a buzzsaw.
It seems ridiculously dangerous and unwieldy. Quite the impractical weapon. How are you not cutting yourself with that thing?
Cut to Q fishing and watching Bond with binoculars. Bond is talking with Octopussy about her past. Expo City, but nothing of consequence. I mean, I guess we do learn that she's a smuggler diversified in shipping, hotels, and circuses for some reason.
Apparently she employs all of those women at her house that look like they don't work because they're there all day.
You thought that too?
Yes.
Y'all are there all the time, though, but apparently you're also traveling in the circus?
Or working? Like, how? What?
How is Magda in the traveling circus, doing all your affairs, sleeping with agents, and fucking still hanging here all the time? Like, what's going on with you guys?
Are you clones? Are you Stepford wives?
Yes. Cutting to later that night, Bond finds a flyer for an Octopussy circus in Karl Marx Stadt as Octopussy comes in and tells him that she's got to go out for a few days, but he should stay. He says he's not for hire, and she storms off offended. So he follows her, and they bang it out on her royal bed.
First notes of this whole scene I wrote was bipolar much? Like, he just said that, you know, he's not for hire, he's a man of principle, and you flip the fuck out.
No, it's because she doesn't want to pay him. She wants to fuck him. And he was like, no, And on top of that, fuck your offer. I'm just gonna pretend like you're just trying to hire me as like some thug, and that's the only thing I see our relationship as is some business thing. And she's like, I'm gonna be an instantly broken-hearted, jilted female. Cutting to the fishing surveillance spot where VJ now has shift, there's some noise that gets VJ's attention, and he goes to investigate. Just then, two of the paid thugs jump out and grab him, revealing one of these guys to be Aquaman. I mean, he's under the water for like how long?
Well, yeah.
Gobinda appears with Yo-Yo Man, and Yo-Yo Man yo-yos VJ to death. No more tennis jokes.
No more tennis jokes. R.I.P. VJ. I liked you.
You had personality.
More personality than a lot of those guys.
Cutting to Bond, he checks his watch and gets out of bed. We then establish the assassins entering the island's palace grounds. Octopussy wakes up and asks Bond to come back to bed, and as they lay there, smooching, Yo-Yo Man creeps up to the balcony above with his saw toy. A drop of water falls from the blades, warning James, and they roll away just in time.
Yeah, didn't Kamal give explicit instructions not to hurt the woman?
Listen. Nope. I didn't hear that. All I heard was blah, 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 money, blah, 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 saw.
Oh, that's what happens when you hire thuggies.
The two paid goons pop out and fight Bond. It's small and subdued. He flips one, gets choked, and flips the other, like always. Just then, she breaks a bottle over one's head, like Tracy did. Bond then pulls Yo-Yo Guy over and onto the bed. Now, in real life, Derek's removed railing to get closer to the edge and fell over filming this sequence. Not the planned fall that you just saw, but another time. That planned fall was just coincidence. But he actually broke his arm and filmed the rest of the fight on this bottom floor here with a cast on that you could definitely see if you're looking.
Huh? I didn't notice.
Bond shoves one of the hired goons into Octopussy's aquarium, and her pet smothers his face. She shoots a dart into his brother. Bond and Yo-Yo Guy fall out a window and into a croc moat, and the croc eats Yo-Yo Man. Rip.
Yeah.
I mean, look how sad Octopussy is about it.
She's upset. It looked like James Bond got it.
But I guess it was Bond's fake croc, and that's how he escaped. So I guess Bond had his ride eat that guy after coming to him like a Tesla.
I would have to assume that too.
He still screamed and is dead.
Right? And there was only one crocodile, right?
Bond meets up with Q and learns of VJ's demise. He then tells Q to have M meet him in Berlin. So, cut to Berlin. M gives Bond his cover as a Fernie dealer as they brief in a 1980 Mercedes-Benz 200. M gets out and Bond heads to Checkpoint Charlie to get into East Germany. They were given hell about filming at Checkpoint C, and someone spray-painted James Bond was here, Octopussy, on the Berlin Wall.
Really?
Really fucking big, too.
That would get you in trouble.
We then jump scare cut to Roger Moore's doppelganger in clown makeup giving people nightmares at a circus. Roberto Germains plays the ringmaster introducing Mishka and Grishka. Now cut to Bond pulling up outside. And back to the show where we establish the twins are master knife throwers. All of the Octo Girls are the showgirls. So I guess we caught them on their off days at the island.
It must be.
Magda walks in looking like Madonna and doing parlor tricks for the crowd. Then they introduce Francisco the Fearless, Rip Taylor's little brother, the human cannonball, played by Richard Graydon. He's a smash hit. It is a circus, and they didn't just go somewhere and shoot one. They put one on. Tent, kids, and all at Pinewood.
Well, that's cool.
Bond steals his staff jacket and starts loading circus shit on a train when he spots Orlov. Orlov gets on a disconnected car, and we cut to Lincoln being approached by Gogol, with Bolshoi, played by Gabor Vernon. Bolshoi is a curator of a Russian art museum, but Vernon, you may recognize, as a NATO delegate in Live and Let Die.
I did not recognize him.
Bolshoi checks the Romanov star and smashes it on the floor as a glass fake. Now cut to Orlov showing off the real star to Octopussy on that train car. And it's about here that you realize that this movie is never really going to explain the ins and outs of this operation. And your imagination will have to do. And I mean, that's fine. We've talked about it. We obviously get what's going on. But the plot suffers when it's hinged on a plan that they never really explain the workings of truly.
He's stealing jewelry from the Russians and replacing it with counterfeit jewelry to sell the real jewelry to fund his war.
The same smugglers that he sells the reals to make the fakes, give to him, then he gets the original, subs the fake in, gets the original back to the smugglers, who then split a commission, I guess, of selling it to Sotheby's for him. And he takes money and funds his army. And somewhere in there, someone agreed to give him a nuke also. And circuses.
I don't understand how, I was like, how does he get the money to pay for the forgeries?
Part of the down.
I guess it kind of makes sense.
But it doesn't ever really.
No.
If you step back on the whole, you could see the picture and you're like, I get it. He's smuggling to pay for his war effort.
Right. Yeah, that's the overall thing.
But the closer you get, the less it makes sense. The details are contradictory or missing. Everything is just weird. It's like, where's the motivation?
First we steal the underwear, then shrug, profits.
They hide the jewels in the back of the cannon vehicle and have Gobinda and the twins stay with the jewels. Bond hitches a ride underneath the train as it hooks up on the main track. In an identical car, they hide a nuke in an identical fashion. Now, Camp, played by Dermot Crowley, brags about the yield and how it should look like an American bomb. He shows off the timer, and Bond sees the train is bound for an American base in West Germany. As the cars hook up, Orlov excuses himself, and Bond sneaks aboard the jewel cart again and is attacked by a knife twin. Knives are thrown, but Bond drops a cannon on the man and then stuffs him in it. The cart then stops, and Orlov approaches to get the jewels. Somehow, Bond has, in 5 seconds, gotten the twin's body back out of the cannon and switched clothes with him.
I was wondering about that too. It was like, so he lowered the cannon, crawled in there, changed clothes, and crawled out?
Orlov walks in the car, and Bond draws on him. Why is Orlov here? Why seal and unseal and hide and unhide the jewels after moving them 50 feet? Who knows?
Who knows?
But what Bond does know is Orlov's whole plan somehow. I have no idea. I'm confused as hell.
Right. I don't know Orlov's whole plan.
But Bond knows, and Bond knows the bomb will look like an American accident, and NATO will call for disarmament of Europe, leaving borders wide open for Orlov. Yeah, tell that to Ukraine.
Yeah.
A soldier walks in, and Bond shoots the surprise into his forehead, giving Orlov the chance to escape. Bond headshots 2 more soldiers, then runs up to Orlov's 1968 Mercedes-Benz 280 and jacks that shit. Bond Steve Gutenberg's the car just like in Diamonds Are Forever and blows out his tires on a spike strip. He then rides his rims on the train tracks and fits perfectly because they made this rig for this shot. But he rides up after the train.
So Mercedes have the exact wheelbase of European train tracks?
That one does. It was a custom job by Orlov.
Oh, it was a custom job by Orlov.
Yeah, in case one day he needed to escape on the Soviet Trans-Siberian Railway. Bond uses an umbrella to pin the pedal and uses the sunroof to escape. Bond jumps over just in time as a train smashes head-on into his car, launching at 50 feet out and over a bridge. Now, they fitted an air cannon to the front of a train and then rammed the train into the car for real. As if the impact wouldn't have been enough, the air cannon launched the car as well, which literally almost landed on an extra fishing in the river, sinking his boat.
I saw that stunt. I was like, oh my God, they almost killed that man.
They almost killed that man.
Oh my God, where did that car come from? They noticed it just in the nick of time, and I was wondering if he may have been hit in the water because it was real close. I was also wondering, why did that conductor switch Bond's track onto an oncoming train track? He had to have known.
Because we needed that shot.
Because we hooked an air compressor up to the front of a train.
Bro, you know, you answered your own question.
For science.
Bond is hanging from the train and climbs on top. He lowers into the car with the knife twin and Gobinda and hides. Cutting to Orlov's car, being fished out, and Gogol finds Orlov's stash of jewels. There's a series of quick cuts here, And it goes on for almost the rest of the movie. It's Orlov racing after the train, and Octopussy chilling on it, and Gogol getting on a chopper to go after Orlov, and James somehow having changed into a gorilla costume with no one noticing.
I was like, how the fuck did he do that? Like, these two dudes are here the whole time, and nobody noticed him put on a gorilla costume?
Nope.
Oh, what about the inspectors? Maybe he put it on while the inspectors were distracting those guys, but they didn't notice him putting on the gorilla costume?
Nope.
Nobody noticed the full-size gorilla costume standing up in the corner?
Nope. Then, as the train gets through the border and Gogol lands nearby, Orlov breaks through the checkpoint, sprinting for the train, to be mowed down by machine gun fire. He struggles along the track as Gogol walks up, calling him a thief and a disgrace. Yes, but tomorrow I'll be the hero of the Soviet Union, he says, and dies.
I did it for the motherland.
Back aboard the bomb car, and Gobinda goes to set the timer. Kamal says it's now 11:45, and Bond checks his watch right in front of them. Why? For so many reasons, why?
I don't know.
Stupid.
To verify to the rest of the audience, oh yeah, it is 11:45.
And well, we don't see it. We just see his wrist go up. He just moves in the gorilla suit in front of everyone again, even though the guy just said the time. Whatever. Kamal says set the bomb for 3:45, 4 hours from now, even though Camp already said the timer was 4 hours.
Right. Automatically set it 4 hours.
I don't know why we needed this line.
Right?
Kamal leaves the car, and Bond bumps into something, getting Gobinda's attention. So Gobinda grabs a talwar and goes to the gorilla suit, decapitating it. But Bond somehow already got out, and in front of Gobinda is escaping onto the roof.
So he bumped a vase, got Gobinda's attention, and while Gobinda glanced away to grab a sword, he got out of that costume and halfway up a ladder when nobody noticed.
You know, it's not just that this movie has those big, dumb Roger movie moments. I mean, it does.
Yes.
But you just kind of forget about them because all of the in-between is dumb as fuck too this time.
Yeah, it is. This was not a good movie.
Bond runs along the train and jumps over some piping. He gets to the car with Gobinda informing Kamal and decides to get down and traverse the side of it for no reason. Our boy, Martin Fuck Physics Grace, is the stuntman doing this bit. And now they rehearsed for weeks over a certain bit of land so he could map out hazards. But on the day, like always, no one called cut. And, like our boy does, he just kept hanging on into unknown territory. Martin lost a chunk of his thigh on a concrete structure.
Oh my God.
He shattered his hip, he broke his leg, his ribs, and an arm. He was laid up 6 months in hospital. The Wu almost quit second unit directing over it. He was face deep in a telescopic monitor on Grace and saw it up close and was traumatized.
Wow. And nobody yelled cut, huh?
As per usual.
As per usual. Let him hang on there a little while longer. He'll be all right.
That fucked our boy up. We knew he was living life dangerously, and it got him finally.
Yeah, it finally got him.
Bond sees Octopussy naked, getting rubbed down, and knocks on her window, but Kamal bursts in and shoots the window out. Kamal leans out, but Bond has gotten to the front of the car. Now, it was taking him forever to go inches before for the tension, and now he's teleported to the front. Convenient.
Convenient.
Bond gets back on top of the train and is running when Gobinda grabs his leg and pulls him down between cars. Gobinda knocks Bond down underneath, and Bond is literally underneath the cars, hanging on, with Gobinda striking the connection, sending sparks everywhere. Now, they electrified a rod and had the actor striking it with sparks. As for Roger, 2 carriages, full-sized, were held aloft by a crane over a rolling painted backdrop on the ground. Crude, but remarkably effective.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all.
Gobinda cuts the hydraulics cable, but it's just CO2. Bond gets out from under and then again on top of the train. Gobinda meets him there, and they have an obligatory fistfight on top of the train. Grishka comes up, and seeing Bond's clothes, shouts out to his brother before realizing the mistake and going after Bond. Grishka goes after Bond with a knife, and Bond grabs him, holding him at bay. Grishka pushes Bond into Gobinda, knocking away the attack so conveniently and ridiculously that it effectively removes any threatening aspect to Gobinda's character, as the slapstick did to Jaws.
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
Still entangled, the two men fall off the train and Bond runs off into the woods with Grishka following. When running past a cabin, Bond is knife tricked into place against the door, just as Grishka was earlier in the circus. And Grishka goes in for the kill, but Bond opens the door he's against, causing the assassin to fall through on his thrust. Bond pulls out one of his binding knives and throws it into Grishka's back, saying, "That's for 009.
How many knives did it take to pin Bond to the wall?
I don't know, like 5 or 6?
How many knives would have taken to kill him?
1.
Hmm.
Just 1.
Okay, just checking. Just checking.
Cut to a circus parade. Is that man fist fighting a real bear? What the fuck?
Don't kink shame people, Matthew. I mean, if a man is into wrestling bears.
We see the back of the cannon car and the bomb, and there's less than an hour and a half to go. Cutting back to Bond, who tries hitchhiking before just running off. Back to the parade for 2 seconds. Back to Bond, hitchhiking, when some kids jerk him around like, "You want to ride? Oh, sorry, Grandpa."
I like how he flipped him off, too. That was kind of funny.
All these fucking cuts for almost the rest of the movie are legit insane.
Yeah, and pointless.
It's not pointless, it's just because they're trying to wrap up their story and they have pacing issues, among other things.
Among other things. How fast did it take that train to get there and unload and set up the circus and get everybody into the tent?
And so cutting back to the bomb, we see has now made it to the circus tent on the American base. Then cut back to Bond, who's finally gotten a ride, with Bubby and Shotzi, played by Gerton Klauber and Brenda Callen, respectively. They ramble incessantly and shove brats into Bond's face. It's riveting stuff.
Riveting. I was riveted. I was like, is he going to take the beer?
And back to the circus. It's getting set up. This is all going by about as fast as I can describe it as well. Very quick cuts, pacing issues.
I'm pretty sure the bomb would have went off.
Gobinda hangs around the cannon, all sus. Back to Bond, who's gotten to a town and runs for a payphone, but a woman takes it first. Back to the circus, now getting started. Now back to Bond, who straight jacks the phone thief's ride. Bond, straight 1990 Captain America's her 1981 Alfa Romeo GTV and cops on 1980 BMW R100s and in 1982 BMW 518s give chase.
I was wondering to myself, I have seen Bond deck women for less important circumstances. For real. Like,
people are about to be nuked, lady.
People are about to be nuked. I've seen him punch women for less. And this one, he just like, fuck it, I'll steal her car.
That's 100% true. I've seen Bond deck women
for less. For far less.
Back to the circus. 49 minutes left. Kamal excuses himself, but hopes the soldiers get a real blast out of the show. Octopussy looks at him funny, and it's here you realize that he was going to leave her to die.
And if it's here that Octopussy realizes something is up, she's not very good at what she does.
Oh, no, she doesn't even realize it here. It's here we realize it, if you haven't already.
Right.
Back to Bond. They show the chase for a couple of seconds, and then cut back to Gobinda and Kamal getting in their car. And then back to Bond racing from the cops to the circus, and then back to the circus. 34 minutes left, and some trapeze shit. Back to Kamal as Bond drives past, and Kamal says, "Good. Let him go to the explosion." Back to the circus, elephants and shit. Magda picks the general's pocket for a laugh, and he is having a ball, by the way. He's never seen anything but missiles and camo his entire life.
Apparently, the man's never been to a circus. He's been in the military straight out of the womb, I guess.
Out of the womb. He was born and they said, "Get that bed squared away."
Yeah, right?
Back to Bond, rushing into the American base. At the gate, a guard stops Bond and, seeing the cops pursuing Bond, pulls his revolver. Bond bursts through the barrier with the lady's car he stole and is chased inside. Everyone immediately crashes into each other and spin out, so Bond ducks off into a maze of circus trailers. Now, cutting to the bomb, there's 5 minutes left. Now, what the fuck? I mean, okay, what? I guess that time went like nothing.
No.
And then the next 5 minutes will take forever.
Yep. I like how none of them searched any of the trailers.
Or just looked to their left.
Right.
Bond spots clowns running out and darts into their trailer. Cut to the cannon coming out and 4:39 on the clock. Back to Bond coming out in full clown garb, looking just like 009 when he met his fate. Bond is approached by cops and asked if anyone else is in the trailer, and Bond just shrugs and runs into the tent. Bond bumps into Francisco Cannonball Man and steals his entrance. Cutting to the cops, we see them find his clothes in the trailer and say he must be wearing a clown suit. Roger didn't want to wear the clown disguise, and I respect him a lot more knowing that now.
I respect him for that, too.
John Glenn was chuffed on the idea, and Roger actually had a serious fight with him over it, which we see he lost.
Apparently he lost, because he's in that fucking clown suit.
Back with Bond. He dives at the cannon, but cops burst in after him, and he dives through the other clowns, causing another clown that looks just like him to get caught up instead. Bond rushes to Octopussy and the General, played by Bruce Boa. He says there's a bomb in the cannon, and the General laughs. So Bond removes his wig and nose and tells Octopussy that they removed the jewels and put a bomb in the cannon. They double-crossed her. Bond tells the General that the bomb will go off in 90 seconds. Then, everything devolves into mindless chaos. Cops, soldiers, clowns. Everyone is fighting everyone for no fucking reason.
Kids are fighting kids. It's madness.
It's Sparta.
Elephants are fighting lions. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
Bond gets an axe and swings on the trapdoor over the bomb, but soldiers grab him. Octopussy shoots the lock off, revealing the bomb in 14 seconds left. Bond dives down and starts to remove the detonator, which he does. At such the last second, the firing pins shoot out just after they're removed.
I'm not exactly sure that's how nuclear bombs work.
I'm going to go with, I don't think so, but I don't know.
I actually 100% positive that's not how nuclear bombs work.
I'm going to give it to him on From the moment the frenetic cuts started to the end of this very silly fight was insane and way too long. This movie is the definition of broken.
It's like if they made a Cannonball Run, but it was a James Bond movie.
Everyone gasps, everyone cheers, and Octopussy asks Magda where Kamal is going. And they ADR'd her saying, back to India. But that's definitely not what her lips say.
The whole time I was like, did they dub her voice?
No, but they made her go back in and ADR random different lines than what they actually said on set.
Crazy.
Listen, man, Michael G. Wilson had a lot of ideas of things he wanted to put in this movie. Let me tell you the story of the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie. Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie, the first one, is mindless and horrible and completely impossible to get through. Because when they were told they were getting a movie, they just took every idea that was ever shut down from them on Adult Swim television show and found the loosest way they could connect them all together to get them in a movie. That is this movie. It is all of Mike Wilson's ideas loosely connected together and poorly. And so what you're seeing here, especially with like the insane cuts, it's not just pacing, it's also hiding these flaws in this story and the fact that there's huge leaps in connection. We cut to Kamal packing gold in counterfeit plates. And this is so cheap. A quick 2-second scene and a throwaway line about printing any money he wants. This is like the laziest way to tack on sins and stakes into a villain that can't stand up on his own, no matter how much they try to inflate him.
He was mediocre.
The fact that they're just like throwing in random lines like, oh yeah, now I can print all the money I want to. Obviously, there's nothing inside this husk holding it up.
Yeah.
They're blowing hot air into it to make it stand through the rest of the film.
And was he really the villain? He just like the middleman.
He's the villain. Get over it. Why do you get like this every time? He's so obviously the villain.
Yes, he is obviously the villain, but throughout the story.
That was the point, is you were supposed to think he was the hench for Octopussy.
Yes, I know. It was supposed to be a misdirect.
But it's badly written.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Mike Wilson.
Yes.
Outside, Octopussy's girls have infiltrated, posing as girls selling themselves. We see the elephant trapeze trick from the circus and realize they're about to storm this place with acrobatics. These girls didn't use wires, and everything you're about to see is for real. The girls somersault, pole vault, climb, and human pyramid their way up. They take out the sentries, and then the dancing girls attack the ground guards. This bit was shot in Pinewood in January. These ladies were cold.
I could imagine because they weren't dressed.
Octopussy pulls up to the next floor and outside the room with Gobinda and Kamal. She draws a pea shooter. Kamal has Gobinda go saddle horses, and Octopussy walks in like, "Bitch, how dare you betray me?" And Kamal says, "I knew nothing about the bomb. I swear I'd never hurt you," even though like no one mentioned anything to you about a bomb just yet.
Yeah, right? Like, how did you know there was a bomb? Why don't you confess a little bit more, buddy?
Apparently you knew everything about the bomb. An alarm sounds, and he smacks her gun away as goons swarm the room. Downstairs, the fight rages as more goons have come from somewhere to fight the ladies. Upstairs, Octopussy fights guards armed with rifles, while she's armed with a talwar. "Shoot her! Stop using your rifle as a sword!"
Oh, man. These guys.
In the sky, Bond is on the way with Q in a Union Jack hot air balloon. They have a 1980s 7-Eleven security camera and somehow are watching telescopic zoomed film quality images of these ladies, who are kicking ass, by the way. Though, I mean, they aren't stunt people, they're acrobats and gymnasts, so the ass kicking is clunky, to be nice.
To be nice. There's a lot of flipping.
Very not well
Choreographed.
executed. The choreography is fine. It's what we're used to at this point. But it's just Bob Simmons' choreography is a lot better when done by dudes who are used to doing it and selling it.
Right.
Gobinda grabs Octopussy and Bond swings from a rope on the balloon into the room through the window, killing a goon with an AK. He scares another goon with a tiger rug and shoots him. Then Bond proves his castration with a straddle slide down the stairs, shooting all the goons at the bottom on the way down.
And managing to shoot off the nubby thing and leave little jagged, broken pieces to scrape his scrotum across.
Bond runs after the baddies, but they're off on their horses with the girl. Bond mounts a horse and takes off after them. Meanwhile, Q is getting swarmed by women, and he says, No time for that. Later, perhaps. You dog.
Right.
Gobinda, Kamal, and Octopussy board Beechcraft C-45H Expediter and roll to take off. Bond chases them down and jumps from his horse onto the wing.
Eat your heart out, Tom Cruise. Roger Moore was doing it first.
Well, at least his stuntmen were.
Right.
The stuntman has a special rail to hang on by that's painted like the blue strip to hide it.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I was like, isn't that convenient? He's got all these handholds on top of this plane.
They tried to hide him.
Yes, they did.
Kamal dives the plane to shake his clinger. He shoots up as steep as he can. He barrel rolls. Bond moves over to a wing and cuts the engine. Gobinda goes out to get him, but not before bitch slapping Octopussy.
I think Gobinda's superpower is the one chop knockout because he did that like 4 times throughout this movie. He just walked up to somebody, chopped him one time, unconscious.
And a mean stare.
Yeah, and a mean stare. Yeah.
He climbs up and slashes at Bond with a knife, but Bond whaps him in the face with the plane's antenna, and Gobinda just screams and falls off, exposing his parachute. Now on the tail, Bond plays footsie with the aileron, causing the plane to sink for some reason. Bond squirms into the plane and grabs Octopussy, telling her to jump as the plane lands for a second before plummeting again off a cliff, killing Kamal.
Yeah, like he didn't try the brakes or anything?
Nope.
I'm just going to fall off this cliff and turn the stick as hard as I can to fly right back into the cliff. Maybe Bond broke it with his toes?
He held it really nice and said, "Do this for me. I'll love you forever." And then when it crashed into the wall, Bond said, "Sucker."
Magic dick to an airplane.
When he pulled the cord out for that engine, he stuck his dick in. After that, the plane was his.
It was his.
Why do you think it dipped down to let him jump out real quick?
Right? Yeah, it's the only thing that makes sense, to be honest, Matthew, because nothing else makes sense.
Bond has a magic dick. Cut to Gogol, officially denying anything even occurred at all. However, we would like that Romanov star back that Bond has.
I like how he put that in his pocket, like, they'll never miss that.
Well, he got it for proof to Octopussy that they stole the jewels.
Yes, I know.
The minister says, "I can arrange that. Where is Bond anyways?" And M says, "I don't know. He's not fit for travel." And we cut to Bond on Octopussy's boat, getting it on with her. He's up in slings, and she bemoans his unfit condition, and he bursts out of everything and takes her. And that's the gag.
It was hilarious. No, it wasn't. I'm being sarcastic.
Roll credits over the boat, rowing away, on water. I don't have anything else to say about any of this, except I'm glad this one is over.
I concur. This movie was a travesty of Bond films. I don't understand how this film even got put out. Like, how did it make it past everybody?
Money and time schedule.
Money and time schedule. Overall, this movie, is there something lower than a D minus, higher than an F plus? D minus. D minus minus.
Well, that's nice. I said, this movie gets an F plus, and I don't think that's unfair. Nothing in this movie was good at all.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
The same shit writing team as last time, but with nothing else brought to the table. The girls were not stunt performers, and the acrobatics were a unique idea, but the fight sequences suffered for it. This movie is literal shit. Cheap, lazy, effortless shit. That's a complete parody of anything Connery made without any awareness of it. Again, F plus.
Yeah.
For the kill count, how many do you think Bond kills?
I'm gonna go with 5.
15.
15?
15 for Bond, 43 by others for a total of 58. Moving on to the rankings for the pre-title, I said this pre-title was broken. Every bit of it made no sense and should have been rewritten. But I can say, and will say that for the whole movie. Why is there a horse show on the base in Castroland? I don't know. How did no one question Mega Horse? Who gives a fuck? 13th place.
I was a little bit nicer. I'm gonna give it 11th place.
The title and theme.
For me personally, this movie fell into 12th place. Way at the bottom.
Well, she's not singing at me this time. It's going to sound like always at this point, but it's a masterful combination of past techniques in the titles, but indistinguishable from the last 4 or 5 films. The song is okay, and that's how I'll leave it. 8th place. Moneypenny pickup line. He hits on Penelope Smallbone and insinuates Moneypenny is old. Plus he gives Moneypenny one rose and Penelope Smallbone the bouquet. 13th place.
I put it in 11th place because there was a couple of films that didn't even really have a Moneypenny flirt.
But better than him actively making her feel old and worthless.
And worthless.
Q gadgets.
Well, this scored a little bit higher because there were Q gadgets.
Really? What were they?
The microphone and the...
Oh, that's a gadget?
Yeah, well, he gave it to him. I mean, come on, we counted pocket lint.
I got a microphone in my pocket.
I gave it 10th place.
This will sound like the last episode for me, but what gadgets? A watch with a primitive AirTag and a microphone for an egg? 8th place. He didn't even have a gadget car. Speaking of cars, Bond didn't really have one of those either. He drove the Rover horse trailer.
Yeah.
He drove Orlov's Mercedes for like 2 seconds before train smashy.
Yeah.
It was the Alfa Romeo GT V6 that he stole from that lady. That was somewhat the flashy, I guess, show-off car in the longer chase, even though they barely showed it for more than 2 seconds before cutting back to a circus because they knew they had no exciting shots. 10th place.
I actually gave the car 13th place because he Captain America'd that shit. It wasn't even his car, and they barely showed it. 13th place.
He did Captain America that shit. And if you don't know what we're talking about, watch the 1990 version of Captain America. Main ally, VJ, section agent in India that knows Bond's tune and is super into tennis. He's charming, no pun intended, and can blend into the streets or the upscale clubs. But he dies early on without helping much. 8th place.
As much as I liked VJ, I cannot disagree with you that he was a useless ally. I gave him 12th place.
He wasn't useless. He helped them escape. He did a lot of stuff. He just wasn't around long enough to do more. Villains. Kamal Khan, exiled Afghan prince turned smuggler, counterfeiter, gambler, killer, backstabber, World War III starter. Got anything else we can throw at this guy to make him work? They never built a character. They relied on the actor, and the actor didn't have it. 12th place.
I don't disagree with your statement. He was kind of a bland villain. Not quite as cartoonish as Dr. No, so 12th place.
Main hench, Gobinda. I wish it was Mishka and Grishka.
It's too bad it wasn't Mishka and Grishka. I mean, they were cool-ish.
But for main hench, Gobinda, he's a large turbaned fella with a blunderbuss and a mean scowl. He's imposing and effective most of the time, but the actor said himself, he's not the brightest and didn't stand a chance against James Bond. 9th place.
I've looked at him a little bit different. Like, as far as henchmen go, he was more intimidating than a bunch of them. He ranked the highest out of all of my rankings of this movie at 7th place.
Bond girl, Octopussy, a smuggler and circus owner who is too dumb to see her own men starting World War III and trying to kill her while stealing from her. But she has her own harem.
Yeah.
Maud Adams being back here confused me as a kid. She never does anything really, but she also never hinders Bond either on accident or on purpose. 9th place.
She did bring a team of ninja girls, so I give her 6th place.
A team of ninja girls who can't throw a fucking punch or a kick.
Well, yeah, they're not the best trained ninja girls, but they're a team of them.
You're the same guy who gave no love to Thunderball Felix for bringing the fucking Navy.
Because that's all he fucking did.
All she did was bring these stupid fucking girls who can't throw a punch, but hey, I guess she shot a padlock off his safe.
She never hindered.
One-liner. I'm giving it to the price of eggs going up line, because it's ironically and unfortunately topical as society crumbles around us. Mike Wilson wrote this with a senile Dick Maybomb. It's not funny. It's not witty. It's sad. 13th place.
I'm also giving it to the price of eggs because it was the only one that was relevant, and it's only relevant because of coincidence. Also 13th place.
Locations. El South Ameristan, India, Cold War Germany, complete with wall.
The locations were utilized better than the last movie, but not much. I gave it 8th place.
Can't argue with that. Because, yeah, I mean, they are a little bit more in service of the story, but not much, yeah.
Not much.
The writing, as the last time, kills the locations. They scout great spots, and they work with the story. They even were given free rein to shoot damn near wherever in palaces and gardens. But the story never really capitalizes on the spots as the previous films did so well. Most of Germany was shot at Pinewood, and Delhi was shot all over India. 8th place. Protracted attempt to kill Bond. The deadliest game manhunt. It's a concept, but it's hilariously flopped. Still, better than trapping him in a room with a hole or something even less. And we've had a lot of so 9th place.
I guess that was a protracted attempt to kill Bond, but he's always being hunted in every movie in some form or fashion, so it didn't feel like a protracted attempt. You know what I'm saying? And I ranked this a little lower because none of the protracted attempts to kill Bond were really any good. So, 11th place.
Mission or plot. Find out why 009 died over fake eggs and their jewel-encrusted counterparts. That's all Bond has to go on. That's because the movie doesn't know what's going on. People make fakes and send to a general to switch at the Kremlin for the reals. He gets back to the smugglers who auction them for profits. Meanwhile, General wants nukes in World War III. Wow. Stakes. All the shit. Add counterfeiting at the end, too. 13th place.
I don't disagree with you on any of that. I ranked it a little bit higher because Dr. No was so ridiculous.
Dr. No didn't make sense, but it still had like this level of seriousness to the movie that this just doesn't have. This movie is a parody of itself.
But the plot made a little more sense to me.
But it's stupid and broken.
It is stupid and broken. And when you really, really break it down, it's totally stupid and broken. But I gave it 12th place.
One man's motivations being broken in a great movie or an entire movie being broken, and I slightly understand their motivations. Kind of slightly, a little bit better. Stunts. Martin put in work on the train and laid his body on the line. The plane cling was mind-blowing as well. But the rest was the worst. Absolute worst. Again, this is what happens when you replace your stuntmen with next-level cheerleaders. 8th place, because that plane cling was really cool.
The plane was really cool, but I started thinking about all the other movies and the really cool scene in it before it. So I gave it 10th place because, 10th place.
Score.
Last place. It was boring and pedantic. 14th. Remember how I said last week the score didn't either detract or give to the movie or, it didn't take me out of it or anything? The only thing I noticed about this score was It was the James Bond theme throughout the whole movie.
John Barry is back, but you'd never tell the difference between him and Bill Conti's work from the last film, though Barry was better about not over-relying on the title refrain, so 7th place for me. Good job, John. I was actually afraid when I saw your name in the credits, and I thought it was much better. Movie
Overall, 10th place. This movie sucked ass. Was Dr. No a better movie? Was this movie
Yes.
better? You
No.
say yes. I say they were about the same.
The fuck have you been smoking? You need to go back and watch Dr. No again, and then watch this afterwards.
Because, like, I had to put one above the other.
I don't trust your memory anymore.
No. I don't know.
Hell no. Not if you think this is anything close to Dr. No, much less better than it.
It's not better than Dr. No. You're absolutely right. I'm actually going to rank this in 13th place because it is not better than Dr. No.
Oh, what a surprise. This movie isn't offensively bad, like The Man with the Golden Gun, but not one single thing works except for that plane cling stunt. But besides that, nothing works. It's actually a pathetic joke of a Bond movie that makes Austin Powers movies look brilliant because at least they were self-aware. Roger is too old. This movie is an impenetrably daft plot involving a rogue Soviet general attempting to trigger World War III by swapping Fabergé eggs for a nuclear weapon in a circus. The writers shouldn't be writing these. It's completely broken at almost all times. I don't know what else to say that we haven't said a million times by now, and I don't want to whip the mega horse, so 13th place.
Don't want to whip the mega horse.
Art is subjective, but if you like this, I can objectively say you are not an intelligent human being and can just as easily be entertained by jangling keys.
Now, there are some people out there that are going to take offense because they are entertained by jangling
Come
keys.
at me, bro. 13th place. And as they said, Bond will return in A View to a Kill. But as we've said, there's a little side mission we have to knock out first. Until then.
I'm Agent Carter.
And I'm Agent Sedgwick.
Stay spying, y'all.